PS4's road to 100 million.
And are these digital sales proving the future or no?
Hello and welcome to Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast. I'm your host, Brett Beck, and alongside me, Mr.
Saul Bridges, bringing you lucky episode 72. 72.
71?
Is it really? No.
Saul, I hate that we do this every time. How unprofessional of us to not
There's
even
no
know
way.
what episode we're on.
Well, while Brett looks that up, for those that don't know, we're Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast. We come to you guys every Monday on YouTube and podcast services at 10 a.m. Pacific time and noon Central time. And you can, like I said, find us on there. If you like this stuff we do, always give us a thumbs up and get in the comments below. Anytime we answer a reader mail question, let us know what your answer is.
The official answer is 71.
My bad.
Saul, atone for your sins.
I don't know what to do there to atone, but
I'll keep this train running. You can find us on podcast services in audio form too.
Already said that. Go ahead.
Did you? Oh, well. I heard all the YouTube
train.
stuff. Derail the train. Yeah, if you listen to us on there, give us a review, let us know how we're doing, gets our numbers up there, helps people find us a little easier. We have recently updated our Patreon, which you can go to if you'd like to support our show
in the link
or any of our work. I think Saul's got some plans for his Saul Plays coming back up. There you go, Corey. That's your answer.
Something like that.
One of these days there will be another Saul Plays. We'll see what it is.
Don't be mad if it's Dark Souls 3 again.
Saul's ever so heinous is what I'm going to start saying now. It's a heinous addiction to Dark Souls 3. Anyway, on the Patreon, we have updated it to where our $3 tier and above. So we only actually have a $1 tier, a $3 tier, and a $5 tier. $1 if you just want to support us. $3 if you want to support us. Get some, actually all of them have a Discord role color change name if you want to hop in the Discord and have a pretty name color. Hakuto. Find it. Support us if you want that name color. Otherwise, stop complaining.
Yeah.
Anyway, $3 tier and the $5 tier will include a chance at winning a custom case. If your name is chosen, we will reach out and you will tell us what case from our catalog of ever-growing, around about 25 games right now, and it will continue to grow as we make more of them. And from there, you'll choose what you want, and we'll get it shipped over to you. Let's see. Is there anything else I can think of? Oh, head over if you are a Facebook user and like to use Facebook instead of Twitter or Discord. You can head over to our Facebook. It is Triangle Squared, the PlayStation Podcast. Is the group, or actually it's not a group. I'm sorry. Is it a group? It's a group.
I don't have Facebook. So.
I don't know. I use Facebook. I just don't use it enough to quite know the terminology, apparently. Anyway, you can go over there and then talk with all the other listeners and have like-minded people. Have conversations over there if you don't like them to be so hectic as Discord can tend to get when it's back and forth. Or you can hop into the Discord if you want to join the real-time conversation, or you can find us on Twitter at Triangle SQRD and peep some of those cases that we talked about in case you are joining us for the first time. With that said, Saul, what you been playing?
Man, not really a whole lot. I think I'm fairly I'm a couple of hours away from beating Octopath. I just know it in my blood.
Sounded like a busy week. Is that what it was?
Yeah, the Octopath gets a lot of love. For those that don't know me that well, or if you're new, welcome. But I play the Switch and stuff whenever I'm on the couch, and I really play my PS4 in a separate room. So if I play my Switch a lot, that means I haven't played my PS4 a lot, and that's true. I have not really played a whole lot on PS4 this week at all. I did get a couple rounds of Rainbow Six Siege in, a couple rounds of Rocket League in, and tried something out on Dark Souls 3 that I'm not too sure I want to say what it was, because if it does become Saul Plays, I'm actually I have ideas on what I'm going to do in terms of editing together a trailer for Saul Plays 2 or whatever it's going to be called. But Saul Plays 2 would be a cool co-op version of like side of that. Saul Plays 2.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
But yeah, so I don't know if I'm gonna say what I was doing in Dark Souls 3, but it's a really weird run.
I know, and it's weird.
Yeah. You saw it in Discord?
Well, I saw. You told me about it.
Oh, okay. I don't say
we talked about it.
And I did say in Discord for the few people that were awake at the time. But other than that, I'm really trying to think here. I downloaded Dragon's Dogma because of Ryan's recommendation again. I got an hour into that, and I did that today. So
are
other
you
than
far
that-
enough in to give a new thing, or are you still trying to just go in without the expectations
Look,
you had before?
Ryan, I need your help because I'm still like I turned off the pawn dialogue and stuff. That's a lot better. But boy, does like the mage suck early game, and it's like,
Is that the class you chose?
yeah, and like I really want to restart and pick like knight or the strider. I think is what it's called for like the hunter style class, the bow and arrow and dagger.
I chose a more traditional class. I can't remember if it's knight or not. It's been so long since I played that game, and I never even beat that game.
I mean,
enjoy it.
It's a real cool game.
I played it back on PS3. I've debated a few times getting it again. Every time that I've been like, oh, I may get this game, I end up getting it way down the line. So this will probably be one of those weird games. How much was it on sale for?
$17.
Okay, well, we'll see.
So not
that
super
may,
bad.
That may be one of those games that whenever it's randomly a $5.99, and I'm like, well, you know what? Like, there's been a lot of games I've been getting that way. So like, well, I kind of was loosely interested in it, kind of like Mirror's Edge. That's what happened with there. I was loosely interested in it when it first came out. But nothing necessarily pulled me to get it. And now that I got it at $5.99, I slightly do regret not getting it at a higher amount just because I feel like it was worth it. But I'm also, because of me trying to be more money conscious, it was nice to be like, okay, well, I had a lot of fun with it for $6.
Yeah.
That's nice. But that's probably what I do with Dark Arisen.
Yeah,
is do that.
I mean, it's fun and there's really cool mechanics in it, but it just feels like literally the mage is like the normal attack is like shooting out what looks to be air bubbles and then like really quick succession air bubbles, and then the heavy attack is swinging your staff. So
I don't think I ever saw anyone play a mage class on that, but then
It
again,
might
that's
not be
not
the
common
game.
on those types of games.
I'll say it might not be the
a
game
lot
to
of
do it
people
in.
don't run mage on Dark Souls and Demon Souls and whatnot, but they've always been, because most people don't use them. They're extremely unbalanced usually.
I'll tell you right now,
Demon Souls you could plow through,
Dude.
as a mage.
you in Dark Souls 2 for sure. Like if you chose sorceries as your thing, and then you got down the road and you did like a hex build, I'm telling you beat almost every late game boss in just a couple minutes easy. In Dark Souls 3 too, pyromancy is really strong, but
Yeah.
boy does it take forever to get really strong. It takes you to get to.
I've seen someone do a pyromancy run, no level up on that at one point, and it was crazy.
Screw that, dude.
They
I'm not
got
doing that.
they got to without dying too, and they got to the tree boss thing that has a little tree.
Tree nuts,
Yeah.
curse rotted great wood.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally no other way to describe it than tree nuts, but and he did actually pretty well. I mean, it was very effective against it, and
I wonder
I
if that
think
was-
he got through that without dying, but died later. I can't
wonder if
remember
that
if it was Vicar.
Lobos Jr.
Or not Vicar. I'm crazy. I'm thinking about Bloodborne.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
Anyway, who?
Vort.
Yeah.
But, Lobos Jr. He's one of my favorite streamers. He's
Maybe I wouldn't know. It was something I randomly came across. Like again, I wouldn't be able to tell you this guy's name, but Blaze sent me the other day. And what's funny is normally Blaze sends me something like this. I'm like, this is 2 hours long, and I'm like, I'm not going to watch this. It was somebody doing a Kingdom Hearts 1 proud mode, so hardest difficulty on that game since it didn't have critical.
I was gonna say critical took that
doing
place.
doing the no XP thing to where you can't level up,
No,
so you
yeah.
don't get anything, which apparently has some benefits to the way the game is designed to have some systems.
Is it a glitched benefit?
Well, no, because how strong the Heartless are is directly based off of how strong your strength is. So if you never level up, your strength doesn't ever change if you don't use it. So you can level up magic and stuff and do higher attack with magic, and you can do equivalent damage across weird
Gotcha.
things.
That's weird.
It was crazy. Anyway, I want to tell you just from a because you've played it. So anybody who's played Kingdom Hearts knows how ridiculous this is. This guy's not only a speedrunner, but he was doing this way with no XP, right? And what I clicked on it, right, and I was like, well, I don't want to watch him do Destiny Islands, even though, I mean,
nobody
could,
wants
right?
to watch Destiny
But
Islands.
There's a couple things I learned from this that I had no clue before that you could do whenever you're in Traverse Town and normally you're walking through and be like, oh crap, I can't remember where to go to have to trigger the Donald Goofy scenes. That doesn't even have to happen. You do not have to do that.
Don't you go to the second district and jump down to the alleyway?
No, I mean, but you know, remember on the normal, at least your first playthrough, and every playthrough,
Yeah, you have to go
You
through
go
the-
through like, and then you go to the clock tower, and then
Yeah.
they walk out of the hotel,
Right.
and all that. None of that has to happen.
Right. Yeah.
You don't ever have to see.
Yeah.
them.
You just jump down from second.
Not even that. All you got to do is go down, do something. I can't remember exactly what it was. So, but basically, the idea is you don't have to do any of that. And all you have to do is go talk to somebody, and then you'll fight Leon, and that's it. You'll do something, talk to Sid, fight Leon. You'll talk to Sid in the magic accessory shop.
Yeah.
And then
Before
you'll
he
fight
leaves.
Leon when you leave. And you don't have to do any of that. So that's how he saved time. He had a bunch of
Interesting.
stuff like this. But to get the rest of this out, what it was is that I was like, okay, this is kind of crazy. So then I clicked forward some more. And at the 53-minute mark, he was already through with Agrabah.
Ugh, I hate that world too.
And
that world sucks just because the second part of it.
He beat the entire game with, like, I think all of his deaths, I'm pretty sure, are purposeful. He did one where when you're flying out of the Cave of Wonders in Aladdin, you have to do that weird magic carpet ride, avoid the stalactites. And
the very end.
Yeah, and actually the game, if you fail on purpose and you die, the game doesn't make you restart it. It goes, oh, good enough, and it lets you go through. So he actually shaved like 2 minutes off his playtime by doing that. So he died on purpose there, and he died somewhere else on purpose to speed up. I can't remember where it was exactly. Anyway, he beat the entire game in like almost 2 hours with no level.
That's nuts.
And I actually wanted to stay through the rest of this, and I got sidetracked. I need to go back and watch it again because the whole point of the run was supposed to be him go all the way through to the Sephiroth fight with no XP gain. And I was like, I want to watch that because that's insanity. But
that guy, we went on a weird tangent there, but a good one. I will say though that, like, I know at the end of this month, Divinity 2 finally comes to PS4. That's gonna suck up my life until Spider-Man, for sure. And good
it's
news,
not long. Spider-Man's like it'll be like a 2-week period because Spider-Man's like the 7th, isn't it? Or is it the 17th? I can't remember.
No, it's the 9th, or it's the 7th or 9th. Yeah, I can't remember for some reason because I remember thinking to myself like, oh, we're only like a month away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm actually off that weekend too. That Spider-Man comes out on a Friday, and it's going to be Thursday or Friday, and I'm actually off that weekend. So that may be able to, Brett's going to go but plug in our camera real quick. Oh, no, maybe not. Shit. So how does this work?
It's still recording. So.
Oh, it's recording the audio? Okay. Well, for those that don't know, we just lost power to video. I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that you can tell by the black screen you're looking at. But hopefully we'll be able to power through a good chunk of it between Saturday, Sunday, or Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and then by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm thinking we can get an impressions video up for everybody to watch.
That'd be fun. We haven't done one of those in a while.
No, we meant to do it for
from
Detroit.
The thing for you video people.
Yeah,
I know it's not a ton of you, but
there's 40 people that watch us on YouTube. Brett, what have you been playing this week?
Yeah, let me roll through this. It's pretty much been,
well, I don't know how that happened.
More difficulties. Anyway,
it's because it's so back. Our camera angle's
I've been a champion in my own sort of Chasm. So I bought Chasm for Vita and have not managed to play it yet because No Man's Sky has just had me. I don't know what it is about No Man's Sky. I just want to keep playing. It's all I've played, and I'm going for platinum. I've decided because I'm having enough fun with the game. It's still fresh to me. I'm doing story stuff now. And the story stuff is kind of cool. And I'd never messed with the holodecks or whatever they're called. I think they're called holodecks.
The Atlas stuff?
For the Atlas story. I like the way they're kind of going through that. They're trying to tease on who you are as a character and how you're different from everybody else and that you're a traveler and there's other people. So I'm kind of doing that. I'm going to work my way to the Atlas station. I'll do that. Then I'll work my way to the Anomaly, which is another story path that you can do. And then I'll roll through to the Center of the Universe. But I'm not far from Platinum. I have a couple of things I need to do. I need to find 9 more planets, or I need to do 9 more planets where I scan every single animal. I've got like 4 or 5 planets where I only have 1 or 2 animal left.
Shout out to Shoko for doing all that.
Oh, no, it's not that bad. Most planets will have like max 13 fauna, so they're not that hard. You can get normally about 10 of them on your first roll through the planet. The last ones that you can't find, tip I saw and makes a lot of sense and actually worked, is that you leave the planet and go to a different planet and then come back, and some of the first animals that will spawn be typically the one you need. I went to one planet earlier and just...
That's so funny.
What?
That's weird.
I mean, it's just... It's the way it goes.
Yeah, I know. That's just the way the game works.
But even then, I went to one planet earlier. It was the first one I've ever got fully on them. I had as soon as I landed on the planet, all 5 of the fauna were right there. And I was just scanning them all, and I was like, sweet.
It's like they knew what you needed.
Yep. So I'm working towards that. I've got... And what I'm doing anyway, which is going towards different things. One of the other trophies I have is to use my warp thing like 30 times, which by the time I get to all these things, I'll definitely have warped 30 times. I got the one the other day, which was just surviving in a harsh environment, the one that I was leaving running during the reader mail episode. I just went to it's on an extreme planet for extreme weather or extreme sentinel, and I just got an extreme sentinel planet I found, went inside of a building, it counts, I just stood there. So while I was doing other stuff, I just stood there. So I was like, okay, I'm playing this, for a little while. I'm watching TV with my wife, I'm playing with my daughter while this is just doing its thing. So that did it.
Making very loud sounds.
God, man. We were talking about it. I don't know what's up in my PS4. It's a PS4 Pro. But ever since the update, for some reason when I'm playing No Man's Sky, specifically when I'm in like a space station or like any of the buildings on the planets, if I just am there, my PlayStation just sounds like a jet engine. I could otherwise explore the entire universe with minimal noise. I don't get it, but it's whatever. Saul.
We're going to hop into the drop?
Yeah, you're going to drop into the hop?
Sure thing. So for those that do not know, the drop is this week's releases for PS4, PS Vita, and PS3. And of course, if you are new, I'm going to mention them if they're physical, but if not, they're all digital.
You know, one of these days that someone's going to think I'm retarded for being like, oh, he said drop to the hop.
Oh, yeah. And
not knowing that there is a great... We will bring that back.
Yeah,
I'm going to bring that back to Twitter. We're going to find it.
I need everybody...
Liam, I need your picture that you made.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Post it to the Twitter.
First up on the drop for the week, we have Dead Cells for PS4, a much anticipated game for me and Brett.
So good.
I very well may be getting it on release day, but we'll see.
Are you getting it on Switch?
You know, I kind of want it on Switch, but at the same time, I kind of want the trophies a little bit, so I haven't made that decision yet mentally.
Okay.
But we have Defenders of Ekron, the definitive edition for PS4, The Dreamlands, Aisling's Quest for PS4 and PS Vita, Electronauts for PSVR, Flipping Death for PS4, Madden NFL 2019 out for PS4, available in stores and digitally, Overcooked 2, shout out to my boy Corey, for PS4, available in stores and digitally, Poop Slinger for PS4.
Do you play as a monkey?
We needed that. Slamland for PS4. Tetra's Escape for PS4 and PS Vita, a digital cross-buy title. No, it is not Princess Tetra from Wind Waker. We have We Happy Few finally coming out for PS4 and available at stores and digitally.
I still need to do my research on that because I was not going to get it when it was just going to be 100% procedural generated and it's just like rolling through an ever-changing world. For the type of game it is, not what I want, because the premise is so freaking cool that it's so ripe for a cool story. From what I understand, though, something's different. I think that there's actually somewhat of a traditional campaign. If there is, I will get it because I love the BioShock vibes. I think the idea. I think it was Corey or somebody else.
No, it's on a video from one.
There's tons. When they first showed it, I thought.
I'm talking about to us. Like they commented on our video.
Oh, yeah.
They, if I remember correctly, they were a little salty. They said like PUBG's never getting to PS4, get over it. And I'm like, we really don't care that much about it.
Yeah, I definitely don't care. But yeah, I think that game looks awesome. I think the premise of the general, here's a world that's like dystopian and there's all these, I'm not going to say dystopian. I guess that may not be the right wording. But regardless, there's a crazy world going on and the only way that people are going through it is by being basically on drugs that make them happy and make them view the world in such a way that they don't see how dilapidated and destroyed it is. Like that first trailer, dude, set such an awesome tone. And then when I found out it was procedurally generated, I was like, "This is awful." It kind of killed it. Now, I was like, "This is." I mean, not awful, but it's awful. I was like, that seemed like a cool setup for a story, and now we're not going to get to see this through.
Now I know that there was something that involved an Xbox with them buying the studio out. Are they getting anything from that? Like, is it going to be a timed exclusive for them? Has it been out on Xbox, or is it all coming out for us on Tuesday?
You know, I'm not sure because with them buying Compulsion. That was one of the studios, Compulsion?
Yeah, Compulsion was.
That's right.
It was Compulsion.
So I guess this game was already going to be coming out on PlayStation, so it made more sense for...
Just to go ahead and release it at the same time.
For them to let it release. Yeah, because there's already money tied up into it. Why not maximize it?
And we do have one more. It's a Word Search by Palgi for PS4 and PS Vita.
Palgi. It's a little puppy. You see it?
Oh, it is a little puppy.
I don't know who Palgi is. But I like it.
I don't know either. Brett, we have a lot of news this week, do we? A little bit less, a little bit lot.
It's okay. It's not bad.
Go ahead and jump into that.
Speaking of Dead Cells, Smash Like Brawlout has announced the protagonist of upcoming Metroidvania Dead Cells will be joining the game as a free update this fall, so it will not be at launch like Hyper Light Drifter, Yooka-Laylee, and Juan from Guacamelee will be, but it will be added free later for all players. Spyro, the Ignited trilogy, was swept up in some controversy this week when the game's site added a line that suggested that the second and third games in the remake will be downloads instead of being on the disc. Activision responded by saying, quote, "As with most games today, downloading an update after purchase is quite common. The language on packaging and on the web is to let players know the requirements for Spyro Reignited Trilogy," end quote. The game's coming out September 21st. Whether or not you still want to get it after this, here's the problem with this.
I don't know how to do
that wording is not. It doesn't answer anything.
How do you buy this game like used? if it is like the
and
case.
Yeah, and now one thing to point out, it's just that the same limitation doesn't exist here, in my opinion, is that the Vita had a couple titles like this, where when it had a 3-game collection.
Wasn't Jak and Daxter one of them?
I think so. Sly Cooper for sure was. You got the first 2 games on cartridge, and the third one was a download, and when you bought it used, either they had the code and hopefully nobody used it, or they had... you just got the first 2 games and not the third one, which is unfortunate. It really sucks. But it's also just kind of part of it. With that said, though, the PlayStation shouldn't have the same thing. And the fact that we've seen Activision, and albeit a different studio, fit all 3 of the Crash Bandicoot remake games on one disc, I can't fathom why this would be any different. I know that the games are a little different in terms of size and scope, and one's got more of an open area style to it, but they're still small areas that are primarily made to... I mean... It's just I don't get it. One's more of like a 3D platformer like the Super Mario games, and one's more like a platformer that's got 3D elements, which is in terms of Crash. But even with that said, it doesn't change the fact that there's no reason that I can fathom why the second and third game wouldn't fit on the disc. The only thing about what they say is that it may sound like there's just going to be very sizable updates for the second and third game
to run
that they weren't able to get on disc in time for it to go gold, which is a mistake in my part. Don't go gold with a disc and then do a day one update when a lot of these people are going to buy this game and not even have internet. That's going to be a thing. Yep. There's going to be people who buy this game who just happen to have a PlayStation 4 for whatever reason, maybe not have internet, but they're buying this for nostalgia purposes. I think that this is a bad play on their part, and if it does end up being that you have to download the 2, that's a bad move. I could see them wanting to do it, but ask why? Because Crash Bandicoot, the Insane Trilogy, has been slaughtering the European sales charts. It's been at number 1 for like 5 weeks in a row, and it did the same on PlayStation when it was only on PlayStation. I mean, it's a massive game. I think Spyro will have similar success, maybe not quite as big. It's hard to measure, I had personal, real love for Crash. Even though I had personal love for Spyro, it's just different. I'm curious what it's going to mean, and I'm wondering how much this potentially hurts the game by them not being clear in their response. If their response would have been like, look, second and third game are going to be downloaded because of this reason here, even if their reason was just because we want to, because we want people to buy the game new so that they can get all 3 games because of we're losing money to used sales.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a bad reason, but them saying something more definitive than just vague language that sounds like it doesn't really answer the question.
It is
a problem.
Activision, so they have a kind of a bad track record, so people aren't trusting it. So we'll see. I don't know if I'll buy it if that's the case, because it
makes me not want to buy it day one. Look, it doesn't matter for me personally, right? I buy games physically, regardless, and that's a game I wouldn't sell.
Right.
I would never sell the Crash Bandicoot trilogy because of the games that I want Kyrie to start playing with me whenever she gets to the point where she can really start hopping into games. So they're great games to do it, and there's a really cool thing about being able to play the games you played as a kid with
That's
your
why I
parent
still have my Super
in
Nintendo.
a new form.
Yeah.
With your kids. It's a cool thing.
I'm not having kids, but if I ever do, boy, that SNES Mini, they're going to get an introduction to A Link to the Past. I don't care, boy or girl.
I got you. Anyway, so that may be something that would keep you from buying it. Next things up is No Man's Sky, like I talked about earlier. Received another patch this week, version 1.53. The update weighs in at just under 500 megabytes, and it consists of a number of bug fixes. That's about it. The next update did introduce a lot of stuff, so bugs are not surprising. But they're working them out pretty quickly, and I haven't had too many times. The game's crashed on me like twice.
It's crashed on me, I think, twice since the update.
So, and I played a lot, so it's not really... a big deal. But
I played probably 5 hours of the new update, which
still
is
not great.
Yeah, scary.
So they're working on it regardless. So that's cool. And actually they're doing really well sales wise. So good for them, coming back strong. Definitely releasing on Xbox, and it helps there. I'd be curious to see how much it helps with PS4 sales, considering how long it's been out on the platform. Next thing up is long talked about sequel to Souls-like Lords of the Fallen is being given to a new studio. So that studio will be Defiant Studios. They're taking over and have announced that they are taking development all the way back to the start, and they're starting over without using any of the existing work by the former team, who were stuck in pre-production hell for a number of years. Not surprising. When you think about a game being stuck in pre-production for so long, it's probably smarter to not keep trying to push the idea forward and force it. Just go back and go, hey, if we were the ones that were from the get-go told we were making this game, what would we have done? And roll with it. It's probably the smartest thing that they can really do. But I'm excited in the general scheme that it's still coming because I thought Lords of the Fallen was a great game. I say great. It was a good game, a solid game. no Dark Souls or a Bloodborne real replacement, but it's still a good game, and I enjoyed it. And even Saul, I think he came in being a little more apprehensive too because he's a big Souls fan.
It was pretty decent.
It's a solid game, man. And if it comes out at the right time when there's not a lot of games like it coming out, then I mean that's kind of why Lords of the Fallen was so good to me. There wasn't anything else to really play at the time that was in that vein.
It's going to be that good kind of little break game from
so
everything
I liked
else.
it, and I thought Lords of the Fallen was much better than the Surge personally, even though they were somewhat made by the similar teams, the same teams. First game was made by two different studios. One of those studios went on to make the Surge. So if that's interesting to you, then who knows? Maybe it won't take near as long this time, but it almost sounds like at this point it'll either be a next-gen game or a really late this-gen game. I'm kind of almost betting on next-gen. Despite its announcement to not include a story, Activision, unsurprisingly, announced that Black Ops 4 pre-orders are incredibly strong and that they had their best Q2 in a number of years, all because of Call of Duty games. Not that surprising. World War II is still doing really well. Black Ops 3 is still surprisingly doing well for them.
I watched some of the beta footage of 4. It looks actually really good.
Heard a lot of people complaining about it, but heard just as many. It's one of those things, right?
It's the same with every Call of Duty beta. And
I've heard a lot of people really like it though.
Everybody will start the sentence off the same. It seems like where. I always do this with Call of Duty betas. I don't ever know why I play them because they're just not fun. It's like, and then they go to rant on the game. It's like,
which I mean, I'll give you this, right? Because as you look at it, depends. There's people that always rant on it, and it's just part of it.
It's just that.
But then there's people like me. Do you remember the Black Ops 3 beta?
No.
So me, you, and Blaze all played the Black Ops 3 beta.
We did?
Yes, because that was when we were coming off of actually playing Infinite Warfare Online a lot, and you were like, "Well, I'm getting Black Ops 3," so we all got the beta. We signed up for it.
I do remember that.
We played it. Me and Blaze didn't like the beta. You did. You kept rolling. You picked the game up. I didn't. Here's the thing. I still don't like the multiplayer. I tried it again the other day about a week and a half ago when I was bored and was done with the game. I guess it's been 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And I was like, I'll hop in the multiplayer because I didn't spend any time past the beta with it. Still not my style. Not digging it. It takes away most of the things that I liked about Infinite Warfare. And that's unfortunate. But here's the thing is that the game changed my mind completely in terms of where I stood on it because of the story. So now it's unfortunate to hear after Black Ops 3 comes out comes out for free and I enjoy the story. I'm like,
story.
Now I'm disheartened. It's like Black Ops 4 is not gonna have a story. I mean, I basically said that before already, but it's one of those things. I think some people complain just because it's it's the societally cool thing to do it's like Nickelback, right? Call of Duty is a Nickelback of video games. It's cool socially and in the social media sphere to hate on Call of Duty, but it still sells the best out of any game every year.
I think Fortnite's a better example of that.
Yeah, that's a good point too. But I mean, they both fall into that.
Yeah, it's just it seems like everybody who's gonna rant it says I play them every year.
Fortnite's objectively bigger right now. I mean, I think it's really hard to say it's not. So Fortnite is Nickelback and Call of Duty's Creed.
See, you know what's crazy is that like I don't watch or follow this guy around at all. But I saw a Reddit post earlier today where that Dr. Disrespect streamer guy was talking about how good the Black Ops 4 beta was and stuff and how much he's going to enjoy the game. I'm like, well, there goes like probably just 500,000 sales off of that alone because of his following.
Dude's massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
And of course, he used to be a Call of Duty developer, which is nuts too.
I did not know that.
Yeah, his name's like Guy something or another. Guy whatever. But yeah, he used to be a developer for one of the Call of Duty games.
Next up, God of War is receiving the novelization treatment coming from game director Cory Barlog's father, J.M. Barlog. Interesting little tidbit is that J.M. Barlog also helped Cory write the story for God of War 2.
Interesting. So definitely going to
not the first time he's collaborated with his dad, which is cool. I don't know if I'll pick that up for sure, but we'll see.
It'll be interesting to read, I think, from playing the game.
It will. It's funny. Just going back off the Reader Mail episode we did the other day, when it was talking about what books do you like to read, you know how many books I've been like, well, why didn't I say those? You know how much Edgar Allan Poe stuff I just love?
Oh, no,
and I didn't mention a single thing of it.
Anytime we do like a list or anything, like a Reader Mail question,
as soon as we're done, I'm like, crap.
Yep.
Yeah. As soon as we got done, I was laying there in bed and I was like, oh, man, I love Poe. Why didn't I think about that? And it's been a while since I've done it, but, since I've read it. But I had that big compendium in there. It's got, Telltale Heart and Mask of the Red Death and a couple more.
Yeah, I forgot to say the Necron. Necro. Now I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, the H.P. Lovecraft stuff is really good too.
Yeah, those are always interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Pit and Pendulum's good from Poe too. Let's see. I lost my spot.
During its recent conference.
Thank you. During its recent conference in Shanghai, PlayStation China revealed new trailers for games that are part of the China Hero project, which is all a bunch of China-based development studios or games made by single people, depending on how they go, different sizes. But games included were Kill X, Project Boundary, Pervader, Hardcore Mecha, and Lost Soul Aside, the game I've been super excited for since they first showed the freaking thing off. Sadly, Lost Soul Aside still has it did not mention a word about release date still. All the other ones were like late 2018, 2019, coming soon. Lost Soul Aside just played and it was like nothing.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Game looks awesome. I've said it from the get-go. It looks like if you took Final Fantasy 15 stylistically, in a lot of things, the way the graphics looked and the open world idea to it, and then slapped it together with like Devil May Cry / Nier Automata, a real action game. It's super fast paced. It looks like it's gonna be really fun. I'm super on for it. If you have not seen it and you like JRPGs, check it out. Lost Soul Aside. The new trailer looks awesome. But also check out the original trailer from whenever it came out. I think it was like 2016. It's really cool too, and it was all made by one developer.
Yeah.
So that's very important. Now it's not. Sony got behind it. There's a studio behind it. But the guy who was the single developer at that point has become the director of the game. Awesome for him. Glad to see that happen. And if he ends up being like a real prominent person in the industry just because of him wanting to pour time into this one game, how awesome. You know what I mean? How awesome. What if this... It's weird to think about things like this because we haven't even played the game, so we can't really tell. But you ever think like, is this the next Final Fantasy?
Or the next No Man's Sky?
Well, I mean, sure. But when I say that, I mean more like... No Man's Sky is a very odd example, right? Because it was already a weird game.
No.
Most people wouldn't have known what that game was.
No,
you look at this game, you know what it is.
Any game has potential to be No Man's Sky. This game come out running 15 frames per second with VSync turned completely off.
Well,
here's
what I would say about No Man's Sky. It would only be No Man's Sky to me if it came out and none of what it showed and talked about. Like if the head developer was going out talking all this stuff and then none of it was true, then it'd be No Man's Sky. Because that's the problem with No Man's Sky. We talked about that plenty of times. It's not that the game released in the state that it did. It ran fine.
Well, and
it was a lie.
It's the fact that it also got pushed up behind with Sony as well, and that's where those conspiracy theories come from. Of like, this game was too small to be backed by Sony, and Sony pressured them into doing this and such and such. But I don't think we'll ever know the truth in that. Only if that really happened. What we got next up though?
Oh, let's see. If you're a fan of modern games' tendencies to let you simulate anything and everything, like I Am Bread, if you just want to be a piece of bread rolling around doing your thing, then prepare to be excited for Bee Simulator.
You ruined it for me when you put that in there.
I couldn't keep myself from it, Saul.
Nope.
You know this. The game sees you become a bee and take up all the responsibilities that come with that, which are apparently fun things like wiggle races, dance, racing around, collecting pollen. That's cool. Anyway, the game comes out later this year on PC and coming to consoles sometime after, though no real window was given. So we'll see. What I'm curious about and what I couldn't find when I was trying to look into it is if there's any kind of initiative behind this to have some kind of like some kind of charitable group or something to where some of the profits from this game go towards bee preservation. Because I guess what it is for me is that this is actually one of those weirdly unique examples of where games can do things in such an odd way where the power of games realistically, definitely with the state, people are always talking about bees, right? And the state of bees. And this stands to educate people on bees. It helps to hopefully make kids and certain people less scared of bees. There's something about facing them in a non-harmful, fun manner that's going to help get a stigma away from them. Because some people are like, oh, bee, kill it. And then lastly, a lot of people don't realize how important bees are to an ecosystem. So when you think about that, when all those things come together, it can help the way that bees are perceived throughout the world for people that may not know about how important bees are and may not have the access to that information. And it would be really cool if they found a way to have some of the development funds go off into some kind of a bee preservation thing. Not saying that's going to happen. I'm going to look into it because I'm curious.
Well, and I can't remember where I saw it, who told it to me, like where it was, but somebody told me that whole save the bees thing was like one real big myth. Like it's not really like we're nowhere near any kind of bee extinction.
No, I'm not saying that we are either, and that's a good point because
I just don't know if that's true or not.
These are things I wouldn't know. So I mean, I don't know. That could be true. The other thing could be true as well. But all we're getting at is that a lot of people do want to kill bees. And bees do have a very important place in the ecosystem. Yeah. And I mean, that's observable and very easily findable.
It kind of makes
whether or not there really is some kind of a weird thing.
it kind of makes me want to go back and look and see, like, is that, like, what's the deal with that?
Well, there's a lot of myths.
Some conspiracy theories.
There's a lot of myths. So what you always try and think of with a conspiracy theory or something like that, or even a myth or whatever, because that's a myth that's been pushed enough, is what would be...
Oh, is it?
I mean, yeah, by a select group of... I mean, I'm not going to say select. By a lot of scientists, is that, yeah, bees are very important to an ecosystem, and that we are... at least quickly approaching a point where we may
I see what you're saying.
be coming to a shortage of bees in terms of being able to
I thought you were talking about the counterpart of that.
No, but I would say, I mean, always the thing I go to on any conspiracy theory or anything is what would be the motive?
Yeah.
What motive could you truly have by saying that, hey, guys, we may be killing off all the bees?
Yeah.
And it's hard to think of one serious benefit. Now, I mean, there may be one. I just can't think of what it would be. Because if anything, if we're worried about it, honeymakers would not be... I mean, I guess honeymakers, it would matter to them, right? In a sense of if bees were nearing extinction, they're going to have to figure out something to do for a honey supply. So they should want to try and preserve them as much as possible.
To my understanding, too, a lot of like store-bought honey anyways is like mostly made synthetically, yeah.
Yeah.
It's real hard to find like real raw honey nowadays.
Sure. And I mean, I'd say
not
this.
hard,
if
but it's
else,
just more expensive.
It starts off, it's a small percentage of real honey added in with a bunch of other ingredients. That's probably what it really comes down to.
Oh yeah, but then when you get down to the point now, you could have companies that can make fake honey that tastes just like the normal honey you get, and we would have to stop. We could stop using bees for that too.
Maybe. Honestly, I don't know, but that's one side of it now. That has nothing to do with bees pollinating and all the important stuff.
If you can make a jelly bean that tastes like dog food, you can make some honey that tastes like honey.
Oh man, what is that game called again?
Bean Boozled.
Bean Boozled.
Don't do that, kids. Not fun.
The dirty sock one. The dog food was the one that filled the whole car up with smell.
Yeah, like I bit into the dog food one, and like I opened my mouth, and dog food, like it literally smelled like somebody had cracked open a can of dog food in the car.
And like cheap, terrible dog food.
Yeah, like
it was awful.
Dollar store dog food. But let's move on.
Going back around to God of War, it reportedly made $131 million in total digital revenue during its launch month, which is ridiculous.
It is,
and that's actually, I guess we should have put that in a little bit later so we could segue into it. But we are going to talk a little bit more on that as part of the split main topic. So we'll move right along. Next thing up is Sony announced its financial results for the first quarter of the fiscal year. And with it, we learned that 82.2 million PS4 units were shipped by June 2018. So that's been a little while now as we're in August. Sell-through since then should mean that it's inching really close, if not surpassing PlayStation 3's numbers, which are right at about 84 million. And is still strongly on its way to break the 100 million mark, which is, again, insanity.
And that's what we're really going to be covering this episode.
Yeah, so and the part of that, I'll save that for a little bit later. Next up is Insomniac Spider-Man has gone gold ahead of its September release. Good for them. They had the little like Spider-Man sitting at his desk with the little banner.
Loved it, yeah.
I thought this is which is funny because you remember God of War had a commercial spot that was done by Robot Chicken?
I don't watch
I'm
TV.
wondering if we're going to see the same thing from Spider-Man. Oh yeah, it was hilarious too. You should watch it because, I mean, I always thought Robot Chicken was funny anyway.
Yeah, Robot Chicken's pretty decent.
PS Plus games for August have been revealed and are as follows. This is the last thing as well. It's going to be Mafia 3 for PS4, Dead by Daylight for PS4, Bound by Flame for PS3, Serious Sam 3 BFE PS3, Draw Slasher for the Vita, and Space Hulk for the Vita. And alongside those as a bonus, August 7th through October 2nd, you can get Here They Lie for the PSVR, which is actually a really cool game. It's one of the ones on the demo disc. I don't know if I ever let you play it, but it was crazy. And I'm excited to play through that.
Yeah, you did. That's the one with the sewer stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It was pretty okay.
Yeah. So I'm down to play that whole thing. And then the next thing is Knowledge is Power, which is a PS4 PlayLink title, so that you can basically do trivia with your friends on their phones, which is cool. We do a thing on our Discord that is basically, it's called PS Plus Pals. We do it every month.
And I ran the poll today lately. This is my thing, Brett. Let me have my thing back. Even though I was late about posting the poll. So for those, like Brett was saying, it's PS Plus Pals. We pick a game and we put it in our Discord poll every month. And you guys vote to pick what game we discuss. Right now, we have Mafia 3 leading with 5 votes. And then we have Dead by Daylight leading with 4. So stay tuned to our Twitter or the Discord because we typically, Tuesdays, I think? When these come out, we'll announce the final results and what game we'll be playing with the little graphic that we make up. And
So Mafia.
Dead by Daylight would be cool too because it's multiplayer. Doesn't mean we can't play multiplayer with everybody, but if that was the game of choice for the month, that would be really cool to play with everybody.
We'll
We probably
see.
still will end up playing with that with everybody.
With how many indie games are coming out this month, depending on how long
Dead
they
Cells,
are,
yeah.
depends on because like Dead Cells and Death's Gambit and Chasm, once I start it up, depending on how long it takes me to get through those, depends on how much I'm going to play.
This month.
Huh?
Death's Gambit does come out this month,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yes, it does. It looks awesome. So good.
I have to get down on PS4 because they don't have any Switch plans yet.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so depending on how that goes, I'll play whichever one wins. I'll go that route first, and then if I have time to work in the other one, I'll do that. Absolver was still awesome, and I still need to get back to it. I didn't get around to it, but I played a couple days of it early on and almost beat it. So I like the PS Plus Pals thing because the whole idea for it was that it's kind of community driven. Y'all get to determine what they are. We all talk about it in real time as we experience it and play it, and we can share our thoughts on it as we play the games. If we've played them before, we can revisit them if we choose to. Otherwise, we can still partake in the conversation since we've played the games. So I like that idea. We've had some slower months lately as things got a little out of hand, but that's something I'd like to really get back into. Mad Max was cool, and I don't think I would have ever played that had it not been for the PS Plus Pals. I don't know why either. There was something about that game where I was just like, I don't really care. And then I did, and I was like, wow. Absolver, I wanted to get forever.
It's given that extra conversations to have with it.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's cool because you get to feel like, okay, well, I can have a real conversation with this. And sometimes you get that I'm playing after everyone else, but we have a group of people that's like, well, we're all kind of playing at the
somewhat
same time.
Together, yeah.
So it's like we can have a little bit of a dialogue about what we're experiencing and what we think about it, which is cool. I like that a lot. I'm also like really surprised that that's 8 games on Plus.
Yeah, and I'm glad they added VR stuff in there. Mafia 3 I have on PC. Probably won't pick up on PS4, but Dead by Daylight
I did not know you had that on PS3. On PC.
It was in the Humble Bundle. Played like the first 3 hours of that game, maybe. Driving that game is really weird.
Most open world games like that, sandbox titles,
they just can't nail it like Grand Theft Auto can.
Man, Watch Dogs, the driving was awful.
Oh, dude, Watch Dogs 2 driving was pretty bad too.
I didn't play 2, but the driving in 1 was awful.
Yeah, now I remember the driving in 1. It was okay for motorbikes, and that was the only thing that was okay to drive in that game.
I could see that.
But hey, it's time for Reader Mail. Hello there, how are you? For those that don't know, every Wednesday and Friday we put up a tweet on our Facebook group and our Twitter account. And we ask you guys to ask us questions that we can answer on the air. If you don't ever hear yours for that week, do not fret, do not worry. We will be answering it for that month's Reader Mail, which airs on the first Friday of the month thereafter. So we answer all the questions you always give us, no matter how funny, bad, crude, or terrible they are. We'll answer them in the Reader Mail question, or the Reader Mail episode, if they fit any of those categories. And by terrible, I mean like naughty or, something like that. I don't mean like a bad question. There is no such thing as bad questions.
Basically, we had one user. You know who you are.
Yeah, you know who you are asking them dirty.
Saul got very uncomfortable with that question.
I didn't get uncomfortable. I just knew I wasn't answering it. Josh Ayers wants to know if Sony does add backwards compatibility in 6.0. If Sony adds backward compatibility in 6.0, which is rumored with name change, what games would you like to see in the first wave of games? We're not going to get that. So
yeah, first of all,
that's impossible. I wish
me and him
was.
have talked past that.
Yeah.
We neither. He's in the same camp as me. I don't believe backward compatibility. Okay, here's the thing. I don't believe PS3 backwards compatibility. Now, is this the time where we see either
we already have
true,
PS1.
PS1's not on PS4.
Oh, never mind. I'm thinking about Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, all of those
HD
have been reworked around for
yeah.
it to be PS4 games, but they're not truly PS3 games. I mean, PS1 games like you had on PS3.
Right, or PS
or
Vita.
Yeah. Even though Vita had also a very bastardized version of it where most of the games... Because Crash Bandicoot, of all games, you couldn't play on Vita.
Yeah. I'd like to
How
see,
ridiculous
I'd like
is
to see Final Fantasy 3 for sure, or 6, depending on, who you are.
Well, here's the thing for me.
And then Final Fantasy Tactics.
I can't imagine any reason
No.
why this would not be like PS3. PS3 had all these games, and once they finally got added, if this is coming and there's no reason, because it's so stupidly easy to emulate PlayStation 1.
Well,
and if they're doing it in an official capacity, first wave of games, sure, great. I don't want it to be a wave of games. That's how Xbox does their backwards compatibility. It's staggered. It's not true backwards compatibility.
I think
that's how you're doing it.
I think they do that though, not because of limitation, or not because
they do it. They test every title going in because some titles do have problems.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
but definitely on Xbox because the way they go about emulating the 360 is not perfect.
Yeah,
so they have to go through and make sure the game runs correctly before they endorse it.
There's literally 360 components in an Xbox One, right?
No.
I thought that's why they could backwards. I
No,
thought that's
but
why it could do it.
It's the Xbox 360's innards are closer to the Xbox Ones than the PS4s are to a PS3.
Right.
I
thought
mean,
there was literally
it's really
360
simplifying
parts
it
and stuff in
but
the
you know,
Xbox
I mean,
One.
there's nothing in the 360 that's near as complicated as the Cell, so it's not near as hard
Right.
to it's not near as hard to emulate.
Sony
now,
thought they were being smart with that one.
They do emulate a full Xbox 360 on the One. Whenever you're on the Xbox One, you actually emulate.
You're actually emulating the game.
You gave me your mic stand. I was trying to figure out why I was so small.
I asked you earlier. I'm like, why is it so tall? And then I was like, okay, whatever. I
thought I was losing my mind.
I'm too tired to not. I didn't even notice that.
Anyway, let's see. Anyway, my thing is, I don't want it to be a wave of games. That's not true backwards compatibility. That's making sure that certain games run before you approve them over there.
Right.
Like, okay, basically every PS1 game worked on PS2. Every PS2 game more or less worked on PlayStation 3. The very first models that had PS2 backwards compatibility, and all PS1 games worked as well. I don't see any reason if they add backwards compatibility of either PS1 or PS2 or both, that all of them would not be accessible from day one. Now, of course, there's not already games on the store for PS2, or at least a lot of them, because the PlayStation 3 did not continue on with true backwards compatibility, so they never went that route. But when you think about it in that sense, they had the PS2 classics. I would like to see, if it's PS1, literally all PS1 games. If it's going to be PS3, even though I know it's not, this is just talking at weird dreams now.
Demon Souls
would be awesome. I think that the exclusives would need to be some of the first games to try and come out. So I think at least one of the Resistance games.
I was going to say,
one of the
Killzone
remastered
games already.
Yeah, excluding that. And that's obvious in my opinion. But I think that's the best route to go. I think doing some of the more obscure ones, I think Infamous 1 and 2 would be ones I'd want to see. I
agree. Give me Final Fantasy Tactics and give me Final Fantasy 6/3.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of ways it goes. I mean, PS3 games is a little bit weirder because you have to go different ways. I think Portal 2 would be something cool to see come back, because I'm surprised even Xbox doesn't have that, which would have been a cool feature. And I think it probably wouldn't make sense for them to do it as a backwards compatibility enhanced game, but I would still like to see it backwards compatibility in some way, because I love that game. I talked about that recently.
Yeah, I want to use some of that sweet Magitech armor. Richard Rivero says, here's a Saturday question. What are you guys' favorite PS2 memories? This is going to be a rehash of mine, I know for sure, because we went over these in a somewhat looser sense in the very first episode when we went over our favorite PlayStation memories. And mine is just going to harken back to like 2007, 2006, 7, like summertime, out of school, Kingdom Hearts 2, and like those crazy southern like thunderstorms we get, where it's like bright and sunny in the morning, and then by noon you're like, oh, it's getting a little cloudy out here. We getting some coverage, and then by like 4 p.m. it's like dark as hell, and then there's literal hail and thunderstorms and stuff, and then it does that for like 12 hours. And we've had a lot of those actually lately, like where it's just gotten real dark all of a sudden, and then storms.
Yeah, not hail. Hail's pretty rare around here.
Well, yeah. I told Annie, I was like, if we get hail, I'm like taking my car to an underpass. Like, I'm taking my car away.
Living with the hobos.
Yeah.
Go to the church under the bridge.
But that's my favorite by far, is that right there, is just like Kingdom Hearts 2. And this doesn't really count, but it kind of does because it is on PS2. But Resident Evil 4, I played it on GameCube. But that was the same summer.
Yeah. I played that. To be fair, I played it on both. I played it on PS2 first, though, because I was stubborn. Then I went back and played it on GameCube. And it was one of those weird games that, I mean, it was surprisingly that it was better on GameCube.
Hey, shout out to No Fate. I never realized he uses that image I made him.
I did not know that either.
That's sweet.
Shout out to you, Sean.
Yeah,
I love that.
Thanks, Sean. That's cool. That made me feel a little bit better about that graphic I made you. But Brett, what's your favorite PS2 memory?
Okay, so not surprising at all, definitely, if you listen to the reader mail question, but Kingdom Hearts 1, and how amazingly that game took me over. Great story that I always go back to. And it's I think I mentioned it on the first episode of the podcast too, is that we were really poor when we were young, and we didn't get new games very often. It was always a hand-me-down thing, and even my dad, he would try and get the new console as close to launch as he could, but it was normally like one NASCAR game, and that'd be like the first game he had for like a year, and then he'd start kind of buying the used games. It was really rare that we got games. So my dad was also a huge Blockbuster nut, so his thing was like, okay, well, I've got Blockbuster, I'm doing movies, why not do games?
Yeah.
So we rented a slew of games from there. Like, that's how I played the Beavis and Butthead game on the Genesis. Those are some pretty early memories as well.
The Simba game on that's the Simba game.
The
Lion King game on the Genesis.
Same,
well, that game was
like
that game was like Dark Souls ahead of its time. It was retarded hard.
all those old, like, really rough platforming games because they were just floaty and cheaply made. And I don't even mind floaty platformers. It's just like there were floaty to a way that didn't even make sense.
Well, yeah, that was literally like Castlevania of its time because that's like, oh, dude, there's so much crap in that game.
Anyway, you mean Dark Souls of its time, I'm assuming you mean?
No, I was going to say Castlevania because it's side-scroller.
Okay, I can see that. Anyway.
And Dark Souls is like 3D Castlevania.
But the story for the PS2 thing is that we rented Kingdom Hearts randomly on a whim, and of course it's because me and my brother are kids. We see this kid with a key that's standing with Donald and Goofy.
It looked anime, and that stuff looked cool when we were
And we were
younger.
like, what? This is awesome. Why not? Let's see what this is, right? And so we get it. We rent it. We go to my dad's apartment because my parents are divorced at this point in time. I was probably 7 or 8. I guess, hold on. I would have been older than that.
Kingdom Hearts was 2003, right?
2001.
That's right.
Or 2002.
I thought it was 2002, 2003 range.
I think it's 2002, actually, now that I think about it. Because 2002, because Final Fantasy X was 2001, if I'm not mistaken.
Dang, that's crazy how old that game is.
Anyway, so 2002, I would have been
17 years
9.
old.
I would have been 9. So we're 9. We're there. Didn't rarely get new games. Started playing it. Fell in love instantly. I did. My brother was kind of like, I don't know about this. I kept playing it, and it got to the point where he was down with me on this. I guess he was just trying to do hooligan stuff with me. But it came to the point where my dad was like, okay, I got to take the game back. And we were like, what do? We want to keep playing this. And I know that my dad can't afford to rent it any longer. So, of course, being the stupid kids we were, I can't remember what we put in his case. I wish I could. But we
put
went
a placeholder in
we
there.
went and got another disc. I think it was a CD or a DVD of like it wasn't a DVD, so it must have been a CD that we just plopped in there. Gave it back to my dad. He took it back, dropped it in the box. We had like another day and a half before they called and were like, the right game wasn't in it. The upside is we just played it. My dad was like, oh, my kids must have just put the wrong thing in there. They didn't make him pay anything extra for having it out, and we didn't get in trouble, even though we probably should have, because we ended up telling them. I told him, I was like, I was trying to keep the game. Then I ended up getting the game finally later, and this is one of those weird things, right? I played because I couldn't get it soon after that. So the first new Kingdom Hearts game I didn't even beat Kingdom Hearts 1 yet. I got Chain of Memories on GameCube. On Game Boy Advance.
So what kind of Chain of Memories did you have?
And then I beat Kingdom Hearts 2. Then I went back and beat Kingdom Hearts 1. So it was very interesting.
That's very similar to how I played it, dude. It's like Michael let me borrow it, and I played Kingdom Hearts 1, and then I did not get to beat it. And then I played Chain of Memories on Game Boy Advance that one Christmas, followed by 2. Then I ended up going back in reverse order.
I don't see that. Other quick shout-outs. I think Guitar Hero 2 deserves a shout-out.
Boy, Guitar Hero 2 and 3.
3 I played on PS3, so even though it was on PS2, 3 is my favorite Guitar Hero game from a game standpoint. It's very gamey. The fact that it's got boss fights or boss duels, whatever you call them.
That devil went down to Georgia though.
The fact that it had that, the fact that that you could throw things on your opponent, so that and you could actually.
I never played with people though.
Well, yeah, but even in the game, the bosses, you could throw lefty flip on them, and they could throw lefty flip on you. And it was a cool way to add mechanics into a game that otherwise was just like, well, there really aren't mechanics. It's just a game that you play as a rhythm-based game. It's not mechanically driven as much as it is hit this at the right time. The only other mechanic you have is like star power. That's about it. I guess you could say that the wah is a mechanic, but not really. It's just an input. So I think that one deserves a lot of stuff. Kingdom Hearts 2, throwing the controller to the floor and it breaking up and hitting my rear projection TV screen because I was playing on Proud Mode and fighting Cerberus, and he got me.
Which Cerberus?
The second time through, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, he made me mad, killed me. Somebody said something, and I was pissed, and I was just like, ugh, and I threw it, and the controller just boomeranged up and hit the TV and put a crack in it. And it was like a free TV that we won that was massive. It was like, at the time, rear projection, flat screen.
Boy, I bet you got your butt beat.
Nope. Again, I was a bad kid, guys. Don't follow my example if you're young still, but I was probably 13 at that time, I would imagine. So no one else was home because it was during the summer. I just didn't tell I told my mom was like, who broke the TV? And she thought it was my sister. And I just rolled with it. I didn't say a word, and I let my sister take the fall for me.
If we were off camera, I'd make another joke.
Hey, look, first of all, I came clean to my mom like 2 years later when it didn't matter anymore. But yeah, it was quite funny.
Well, speaking of No Fate, a.k.a. Sean One Neo, he says, take an indie game in a AAA studio. What indie game would you like to see made into a AAA title? What studio would you want and why? This is actually a really cool question, and I have mine perfectly. I want Subnautica made by Guerrilla and made into a AAA open world survival roaming the seafloor style game. It would be terrifying.
Okay, I'm trying to really. Very odd. I don't think it's something you'd see done on a AAA scale, but
I know
I'll
it
give
needs
it
to be,
this.
though.
Very interesting.
Imagine like Horizon's graphics taken to the open ocean, and then survival mechanics.
I guess my
starting
thing
with
is that
crafting.
Subnautica is supposed to be like deep ocean, right? Deep ocean has
no. You start out like in shallow waters. You can go deep ocean.
okay, but
sure.
if you're taking this idea, it would have to be there would have to be more to it than just starting at one spot and going deeper. If you're going to make it a full-on game like this, I'm not saying there has to be a story necessarily.
No.
But you know,
you'd want
the. Yeah, I'm with you, but I'm saying the gameplay beats wise. If you're saying
no, there's gameplay beats in there.
I haven't played Subnautica. I'll say that.
I'm telling y'all right now. I think it's out on PS4. Y'all go buy Subnautica now.
I think it is.
You go. I'm telling you, the game is horrifying.
But it's not on VR on PS4, but
it's on
VR.
It's on VR and Steam.
I think
sure.
it's coming to VR on PS4. I could be wrong on that.
Boy, that would be terrifying. But Brett, what indie game would you want to be made by AAA, and what AAA studio and game would that be?
You know, really, man, it's a great question. It's so hard to answer for me.
That's what I was saying. But like that, the second I thought of AAA title, I was like, what AAA title deserves something good? I'm like, Subnautica, because Subnautica is like
what indie title? But yeah,
Subnautica's terrifying to me.
I could see that.
Thalassophobia.
Well, see, a lot of my favorite indie titles are games that are just almost
they have their charm
unabashedly indie, and
well,
I don't know
saying.
that I don't see your game's good. I don't see.
You gonna take a pass?
I don't want to say a pass because
Salt and Sanctuary.
I think I have an answer. I'm just trying
Konami?
to think. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe, but I'm gonna go. I'm trying to think real quick because I'm trying to think of games that are the indies that I love the most, right? And I think some of the ones that I typically come back to are going to be like Terraria. I love Terraria. Played that a massive amount.
But see, that's one of those things.
But
too,
Terraria would not. I would not want a AAA developer.
No,
on
you
Terraria
wouldn't.
Because it would lose every bit.
That's the charm that indie games have, and like a good indie game. I'll say this: a great indie game has that charm in it. It's part of the game. Subnautica is one of those games that even though my PCs can run it, and I know it can, it still has frame rate drops. It still has draw distance problems. It needs a full-on treatment of something else to fully let it shine. Which is why, like, my first thought was, well, let me give Hollow Knight to Miyazaki and From Software over there and let them do their own stuff with it. But then again, that's just Hollow Knight.
See, a lot of that's what makes the question so hard. Is a lot of the indie games I like are side scrollers or Metroidvanias, and there's something about those that intrinsically is like, well, those are not things that AAAs normally get right.
Right.
But
what was the last good AAA side-scroller game? Yeah, that's been a while.
I don't know, man. I'm sure there's been one not as long ago as I'm thinking.
Because Juicebox is AA, right? Or are they?
I mean, they're an indie studio. Their games come out on their own. Drinkbox Studios.
I would say that their quality's AA though.
I mean, I think that there's things you could say. I mean, yeah, they have great quality. I mean, but they still are unabashedly indie. There's things about their games, the side scroller,
right?
Metroid,
and then the funding and all that
you
stuff.
won't see. I can't even synonymously put Metroidvania in AAA space. You know what I mean? That's just not what I think about.
Castlevania, though?
Even the Castlevania games, when you think about AAA Castlevania now, like in the last even 15 years, none of them have been side-scroller.
Well, then again, those haven't been good games.
I mean, arguably, people love Lords of Shadow, but it was a 3D.
Who loves Lord of Shadow?
A lot of people did. Lords of Shadow 2, on the other hand, no. But Lords of Shadow, the first one, was actually a pretty random and raved about game.
No, that's...
I think that... I'm trying to really think a bit. If I really wanted to see something go an extra mile, I'm going to go something new. Because I think that both of the games that are kind of coming to my mind are games that I think do fit a AAA game style if you wanted them to, if they were fleshed out just a little bit more. And it's going to be that Air game that I just recently played, The Memories of Old.
Mm-hmm.
And in a similar vein, Rime. I would like to see a game. I would like to see Rime actually given the treatment from what used to be Ico, Studio Ico, whatever. Oh, Lord, what's it actually called? Saul, help me here. I don't know why I can't think of what
I can't think of what it is either. I can think of
it's Gen Design now. Team Ico.
Team Ico.
Anyway, I would like to see go to Team Ico, or even if it's just the remnants of them that are at Japan Studio. I think that would be cool because that game had that. But, and I think I would stick with that direction because of the idea about exploring in a AAA environment and doing it in a weird way, because The Last Guardian is... somewhere between AA and AAA in a lot of ways, I would imagine. I'd actually like to know what they consider it to be.
I did not know you can get Legacy of Kain on Steam.
Yes, you can.
That's sweet.
Anyway, what would you consider The Last Guardian to be? Would you consider that a AAA game?
By design, it kind of is, though, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, it's a big budget game. Took a long time. I mean, I would consider it. So I think that both of those games, I think Air, Memories of Old, I think there's a little more to it because Air has such a cool idea of moving between the story. If it was really fleshed out upon, would have been cooler. The idea of the world being broken apart and the way that you're going across it was really cool. I did like the idea of Rhyme, and I'm not going to get into it from spoiler reasons, but the symbology behind Rhyme and the way that the game works is really cool, and I like the way that it was told. And I was disappointed that it ended up being a Sony game, that Sony came out from under it, even though it really ended up being a great game. I don't know why they decided that it was like that for them, but there's a couple games they did that on. So great question. I'm slightly indecisive because of the nature of indie games being so unique to the fact they are indie. But I think Air, Memories of Old to Shin Design or the remainder of Team Ico that are still at Studio Japan.
Okay,
So.
cool deal. Well, let's move on to the main topic then.
Okay,
It's
main
already midnight.
topic.
Oh my gosh.
We'll get there. We're good. I know. Saul came over so graciously late. This is one of the weekends where we're having to do things very
It's been
late.
twice now. The past two recordings, or not reader mail, but the past two actual recordings have been done late.
Sure.
Because I think you went out of town for Bill Burr, right? Or is that reader mail we did?
It was reader mail we did late.
No.
Yeah, we did reader mail late.
No, we didn't. We did reader mail on a Thursday night. I mean, no, we did the last episode on Thursday night.
Oh, you're right.
Because I went and got my car on
Must
Saturday.
have been the Bill Burr one.
Boy, time is like a window. Sometimes you look through it and it's different. I don't know what that means.
I like you saying.
This is my
doesn't
sleepy
make
talk.
anything sense. But anyway, so the topic that we were kind of thinking about here is a little bit of a split topic. One of it is, what does it mean for a console to go on this route to 100 million, and the fact that so few other consoles have even existed in there. So in the grand scheme of consoles that have even broken the 100 million,
like what is it?
of all time,
the DS, the PS2.
there's only 5 other ones, right? So
There's 5?
Yeah, there's only 5 consoles between consoles and handhelds that are there currently.
So DS.
So in order, it's the PlayStation 2 best-selling console at 155 million.
Oh, Game Boy Color.
And technically could be more than that, but that's what we know. The Nintendo DS behind it at 154 million. The Game Boy and the Game Boy Color, because they consider them the same family, and at 118 million. The PlayStation behind that, 102 million, and the Wii behind that at 101 million. So if you think about that,
it's interesting that it's both Sony and Nintendo, which is probably what we're going to see.
And think about it this way: the only home consoles in them that are not the Wii, because the Wii was a weird. The Wii was the exception. You know what I mean?
Oh.
The Wii was a weird phenomena that only gained the traction it did because of weird gimmicky support. I mean, that's really what it was, and you know that because the sales skyrocketed so high, and then attachment rate dropped terribly.
Yeah.
It was just that generation was such a weird one because they made a lot of money on the hardware side, but they did not make a lot of money on the software side necessarily. Far better than the Wii U, but still. So if you think about that, the only consoles in there that aren't because of some weird social crave around the Wii are both PlayStations, and they're both.
Well, don't forget the Game Boys.
Well, but those are the only consoles.
Oh,
the
I see
other
what
ones
you're
are handhelds.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the other things in that realm are Nintendo, and I'll give Nintendo
Well, I was
that.
going
They're
to say
handhelds.
it's crazy that's what they are. It's 2 Sonys and the 2 Sonys, technically 3 Nintendos, and that's what it's going to be again. Because I guarantee you the Switch is going to hit 100 million, and I guarantee you the PS4.
I'm still curious. I mean, I think that
20 million is first year, dude.
because here's the thing. I mean, a lot of people were saying that because of PlayStation selling so well early on, PS4 specifically selling so well early on, that it was already in it may well hit 100 million. But I still think there's a ton of things that PlayStation could have done to screw that up by now. There's a lot of things that they could have. Here's what I'll say. I think Switch has already had enough odd barriers in its way that I'm surprised it got through without any issue.
No, you got
the
Pokemon.
fact that there's
two cycles of Pokemon.
I know,
out.
but I mean, are you telling me that there's not something in your mind that's like, okay, the fact that the online play is going to be paid to require
everything does it now.
I know, but the only reason I say that is it's not even up to it. We've complained a couple times, and you've definitely about PlayStation's state, right? That's not even going into the Nintendo states. Nintendo's online service is a joke.
Yeah, it falls into that weird. It depends because like people, we still don't know what that whole Nintendo one game a month thing they're going to do is. Like, is that like?
Are you even because originally it was supposed to be the end of the first year they were going to do pay for online. Is pay for online not even going yet?
No. It's not probably. It's probably not coming out till November when Smash comes out.
So they've pushed it back an entire year from their original plan.
No, they always said the end of this year.
I swore when they came out, it was the end of launch year. It was November of that year.
It was towards the end of this year, like a September to November, somewhere in that time frame. I can't remember the exact
I'm going to go back
date.
and look that up. I mean, I guess it doesn't necessarily matter, but I'm fairly positive the initial thing was that they were going to have online ready for around Splatoon 2's launch.
Splatoon 2 had online. You're talking about the service.
Yes, I know, but I'm talking about the having to pay for online service.
Gotcha. No, I don't remember that. I thought it was always September.
I'm going to look it up,
October,
but I want to
November.
say, and I mean, it could be either. I'll give you that. I'm going to look it up because it may have been that it was always supposed to be this November, but I thought of it as the first November. So I'm going to look it up for my own personal
I think though
knowledge.
That, like to kind of wheel this back to PlayStation is that which is going to be ironic because I'm going to start this conversation saying the Switch has Pokemon coming out of this year and next year, and I think that's going to bring a lot of people back. I think what's really going to crush it though is that when Spider-Man comes out, you're going to see an influx in sales there on PS4s.
Sure.
Most definitely.
Now, here's what I want to say about your Pokemon thing, though, right? Because I do think there's a lot of arguments about the games coming out on Switch, right? And now these are consoles starting off in very vastly different ways. The 3DS came out to a resounding thud. It was
It came out the very similar way the Switch did. And a lot of bad games and like one Zelda game.
Well, I mean, I could say that, but I guess in my mind what I'm really talking about is they were too much money for what they were. Definitely when the Vita came out, not far from around it, and we only knew the price of the Vita going into it, and they were the same price, even though the Vita was incredibly more powerful.
Right.
Now, the Vita ended up suffering its own fates. But the launch lineup, the launch lineup for the 3DS was abysmal.
Yeah, a submarine game, a Street Fighter game, and Zelda. And that was the 3 launch games.
Nobody cared, and yeah, it was a Zelda we'd already all played before.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie though, I was super excited for it.
Yeah, I was too, but still, it was a Zelda game we'd all played before. So I mean, think about it this way: would you have been as excited if the Switch was just launching with Majora's Mask remake?
Yeah.
Now, I mean specifically the remake in the same style, where it was like the one that came out on 3DS. Yeah. I don't think you would have been as excited as you were about Breath of the Wild.
I mean,
because there's something
Majora's
more
Mask
about a brand new game.
No. If you forget, Majora's Mask is one of my favorite Zelda games.
I mean, mine too.
Actually,
Waker. I mean, it's
honestly, if they made a sequel to Wind Waker that was instead of Breath of the Wild, boy, you would have had him faster than I did. I think.
Yeah, you think I'm kidding? I love Wind Waker.
But yeah, like. I think though that like the way Nintendo has these such weird exceptions because you have people who aren't going to get a Switch similar to you this Pokemon Go around because it's Pokemon Go inspired.
I might. But I'm very on the fence, and I'm on the side of the fence where I'm not going to get it currently.
Then you have all the people who don't have a Switch yet that are waiting for that game because they played Pokemon Go and nothing else really.
Sure.
And then you have people next year who are like, I'm waiting to get a Switch for that one because it's not Pokemon Go inspired. And so it's going to have these weird influxes, and at 20 million in a year to say after two new Pokemon games, new Zelda, new Mario, whatever they may have in 7 to 8 years in the same span of not quite, what is it now? 5, almost 6 now with PS4, that you're not going to have as quickly, I don't think, but I think it's a very similar success story. And I think that when we see
the 3DS, I'm sorry.
No, to PS4.
Okay, I'm making sure I'm paying attention.
Yeah, it's almost like the Switch is following the same trajectory because the PS4 launched with not a whole lot, but then over the course of its very first couple years, it established itself, and then the hard hitters started coming out by year 3. And I mean, like real hard hitters like Bloodborne, games you buy the system for, that everybody can objectively agree on. And I think that when you have Spider-Man coming out the end of, beginning of next month, you have that right there as one of the big system sellers of this year. Then you have The Last of Us 2, which we don't know exactly when, to be exact, but that's another system seller.
Now when you say, when we're talking about really, because I mean, you think about biggest games coming out this year, right? That when
I'm mainly exclusives.
Well, yeah, but you also want to say, you're saying system seller, right? Here's the thing about Red Dead Redemption 2. It's probably going to be, I don't know, man. It really couldn't be, but Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be a huge game. it's not necessarily going to be a system seller.
Well, I didn't say Red Dead.
I know.
Okay.
I'm with you because you're saying,
right.
It's arguably. I mean, yeah, Spider-Man is probably the biggest system seller of this year.
Yeah, right.
For PlayStation.
And Red Dead will. I don't think
so. Red Dead will be a system seller to an extent.
You can't disagree when I say Red Dead will outsell outsell on PS4 than Xbox. There will be more on PS4 than
absolutely.
Xbox.
But I mean, that's just the nature of the beast when you're dealing with a almost 2-to-1 ratio of console. That's just going to happen. So, but
it's just curious
see,
how much
Red Dead has the potential to be a system seller for both sides.
To get the people who have been.
So
waiting.
I'm just saying that it'll be a system seller for people that want to hop in. But yeah, you're right. Spider-Man will be the system seller. It'll be a big influx of people and for both of those games. But Spider-Man for sure because Spider-Man's outside of just gaming. That's one thing.
Oh yeah, comics, kids, toys, all kinds of things.
Real quick, going back to the Switch, because we're talking about what it means to be up there, and why I don't quite think right now that the Switch is going to for sure hit that number. The part of the reason I think that you're using Pokemon as one of your examples, right? This is one of the biggest things I think is going to help it hit that number. If you think about the 3DS, looking right here, the 3DS is at 72 million, right? And that's after Nintendo have continued to push out exclusives on it, even though the Switch has been out for more than a year, and there's still games coming exclusively to the 3DS soon, like the Luigi's Mansion remake,
and
only going to be on 3DS.
Persona Q2 on there too.
But that's a little different. I mean, but at the same time, because it's a third party game.
Okay,
Nintendo doesn't really control where that goes.
Well, but I will say though that Pokemon Go has been this weird thing too of that it's brought a lot of people who've never played these games in, and I think that Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu are going to be.
And I was going to give you that. But to go back into it is that even with that, you're using Pokemon as a big linchpin of like, okay, well here is where we're going to get a lot of people coming in. That's true, but if that's so true and that's going to be one of the things that pushes it up above 100 million, why was that not true? The DS, the 3DS
was out for almost 6 years total of its entire lifespan, and the
3DS came out in 2011.
Okay, so it's been out almost 9 years because it came out at the very beginning of 2011, right?
I mean, I think it was
7 years.
I can't do math. Yeah, I think it's October.
Well, I'll say that in 1 year, the Switch already has over 1/3 of its sales of a 3DS.
Yeah, but the 3DS started off slow because it took about a year and a half in, and that's why I was saying I'll give you that.
Similar.
Well, that's why I say I give you that because no, the Switch has started amazingly.
No, I'm talking about the game, the way it launched with the types of games it launched.
Sure, but I'm talking about the way it launched sales wise,
right?
Reception.
But
right?
I'm comparing
the
it to
reception
like
behind the Switch has been so much stronger than the reception behind the early 3DS was. The 3DS took Nintendo making a massive marketing change, changing the way that games were coming, really pushing on that.
And we do have Smash Brothers 2, and that's going to sell.
Sure. And it will,
millions of the.
But
Switches.
again, Smash Brothers is on the now. There's always some kind of stipulation because, like we said, Pokemon Go is bringing more people into Pokemon than ever before. But then again, even with that, Pokemon Sun and Moon came after Go, and Pokemon Sun and Moon still didn't sell very well.
It's not but that's where Pokemon Let's Go and Eevee, of course, that's the reason they were made.
Well,
because Nintendo
I get
saw
what
that.
you're saying, but even then, man, Sun and Moon, I'm not gonna say bastardized because that's too massive. But Sun and Moon really eased up on most of the core mechanics, and a lot of people
they thought that's. And I guarantee you, now that we saw Let's Go Pokemon Eevee and whatever, that was a test. That was to see if they made the games easier for these more casual Pokemon Go players to come in.
Well, and I don't think it worked.
No, it didn't.
Personally,
no,
so
it failed.
I think that they're seeing that it has to be
the storyline of those games were really cool. The game was like ridiculously easy. I did a Nuzlocke on that game, and not once did I have a Pokemon die on me. But
still, I mean, but that's what I mean is that. So I guess I'm just using the 3DS as an example of a console that got plenty of Pokemon games, but still didn't. I mean, it hasn't even broken 80 million.
Right.
It's still coming up 24 million shy. And now, of course, the Switch has got a number of different things, but it's still got a really dumb online service going against it. So these are reasons why I think we're talking about what does it mean for PlayStation to do it. Well, what it means for PlayStation is that PlayStation despite the only real controversy they've been in with the PlayStation 4 has been crossplay, and that's only been the last year, realistically. And even then, like I say, there's just a very vocal group of people who want it, but you can tell by the sales numbers that the majority of people even if they have an opinion on it and they really care, they don't care enough for it to stop them from buying it, or they just don't care at all, which I honestly think is more likely the real answer, is that more often than not, out of 80 million people, the majority of people who've bought that PlayStation don't care that it's not crossplay.
Yeah, and we won't know that until I'd say at the end of this year or fiscal next year that we'll see those numbers, because I don't think we will at all. But
I mean, what do you mean by numbers of sales from?
Like we'll see how much the Xbox may go up and go down, and we can use these last couple of months
based off of
you can use these last couple of months too to see kind of any fallout, because there certainly is no games coming out anytime soon for Xbox that are exclusive, the big ones, except for like what is it, Forza Horizon 4, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like
for the
in
end
this
of this
general vicinity, this year. So
I think you're right.
So yeah, you could use that, but I don't think PS4 is like unrealistically going to hit.
Well, because I will say, going back to the 3DS, and then now we're going to go to the Xbox with that in particular, and to the PlayStation, because we've seen everybody do this to an extent, right? We saw the PlayStation come out and just really step all over their own feet with the PS3.
Yeah.
Right? Then we saw Xbox do it with the Xbox One, and then we saw Nintendo do it with the 3DS. And we've seen Nintendo do it with the Wii U.
Yeah, and Switch in an extent.
I mean, not really, because the Switch, honestly, has been a success story from them since day one. The Switch was like, they were really in the market. Everybody was looking at them harder than ever, because not only was the Wii a failure in the long run because of the fact that it hit such a high number, but then it just didn't have any notable games or anything. The fact that GameCube didn't sell very well. Every console that Nintendo has made, with the exception of the Wii, has sold worse every single time than the one before it. So it's been just a downward climb.
Especially the Wii Mini.
Yeah, the Wii was just this weird spike, and then it just dropped off. But here's the thing. When you really look about it, when you think about what it's doing with that, everybody's looking at Nintendo in a different way, right? So he's looking at the Wii U, which comes in at around 13.56 million units. Now,
the Nintendo Switch is already also the Wii U that fast.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, right? So when you think about it like that, Nintendo were very under the spot. So the Switch has been a success story. PlayStation had the same benefit of that. And that's where you could see some of the parallels. The PlayStation had the same benefit. After launching so haphazardly with the PS3 and then pulling themselves up by the end of the generation to have matched their competitor pretty much with the 360, you see that it's not impossible. But look, this is the reason why I think this way sometimes is, yes, the Switch has the potential. There's nothing that would show me that prior to this that it would be likely. The PS3 is the only, if PS4 hits 100 million, the PS3 will be the only home console that PlayStation's put out that didn't hit it, and you could pretty much test that to the fact that it started off so slow.
Yeah.
If it would have started off on better footing, and they would have been able to somehow maintain full backwards compatibility all the way through, they probably would have sold 100 million.
So you think they're going to hit 100 million by the end of this year?
No.
You don't think? You don't think that Spider-Man, Red Dead, all these Fallout?
I think that by March of next year.
March of next year. So what's in February again of next year? We have Code Vein. We have never mind. We have everything. Screw February next year.
I think March is possible, and I think if not March, then by June, we will be right.
Do you think Days Gone is a system sell?
No.
Okay, I didn't either. I was gonna see if we disagree on that.
Personally, I mean, I just think it's hard to say that it could end up being, but
I mean, for some people, yeah, but like I don't see it generally.
Word of mouth everything can surprise, right? I mean, God of War sold. There was actually an article about God of War outperforming Sony's expectations of the game. So I think anything can surprise anything. Until Dawn, Sony didn't expect to do well at all, and it did really well.
Man, that was one of the best games I think I've ever watched somebody else play.
So that's one of those weird things when it comes to that. But I mean, what does it mean for a console to be in the 100 million thing realistically? When you think about it this way, when you put it up against competition, it's a little disappointing that they are the most recent addition. Xbox, the fact that they don't have anything that's in that is a little disappointing for them, because the 360 was going so strong. But I guess here's where you go with this too. I say that maybe the PS3 didn't hit 100 million because it started off slow. Well, you know what? The Xbox 360 did not start off slow, and it still didn't hit 100 million. But Xbox is not as global a brand as PlayStation.
Yeah, Xbox is pretty much like
Xbox does
North
dirt
America.
numbers in Japan, and it doesn't even sell in a lot of the other countries that PlayStation does actually sell in. That's starting to change with China opening up. I think you can buy an Xbox in China now. I know that you can do PlayStation and stuff like that in China. That was something that was recent to this generation. If I can recall looking at numbers, it was kind of weird that it's like this is a huge untapped market that was primarily run by PC before that, because a lot of the Chinese player base is into PC games. There's like a lot of Chinese people who are very into oh Lord, what's the Blizzard game? StarCraft 2.
Yes, StarCraft 2.
It's funny because we still talking about PC, right? One of the biggest players of PUBG on PC is Chinese players. So it's a weird market for them to not gotten into.
No, I mean Bluehole, who made PUBG or whatever,
are based out of China too, aren't they?
Yeah, but I would say that while this is true too, apparently it's PS4 Pros are selling out across the world right now. I don't know why, but I think it kind of contributes to the topic. I think we know why.
Well, this goes into the topic, right?
Yeah.
Why are they hitting it? Well, first of all, they've had a mid-gen refresh, and what the mid-gen refresh has done is gotten them I bought an extra console. Now I've bought more than that because of the way that but then again, I've cost them sales in other areas. So, because I bought more than one and sold one to you, and then
sold my PS Pro.
Yeah, but I mean, like my first PS4 I sold to you, then I bought another one, and then I bought a PS4 Pro that I sold to Jonathan when I got this one. So
I forgot you did
it goes around. But still, you think about that, the mid-gen refresh matters. There are a lot of people.
Excuse me.
I'd guarantee that there are at least 2 million, if not more, people who are dedicated enough to go. The PS4 Pro looks worth it enough to me. It's not a ridiculous price. $400 was not ridiculous asking price for me. And I went and I was like, okay, this seems worth it, and I did it, and I enjoy it. So you think about that helps bolster the number.
Yeah.
And then when you have PlayStation coming out after, what have PlayStation done? PlayStation have shown why you need to own a PS4 Pro. Whereas objectively speaking, I've not seen that same treatment from any other mid-gen refresh, right? I don't think the Xbox One X has had a great example of games that are like, well, this is why you need to own the One X. And I don't think that. Do you remember when Nintendo did the new Nintendo 3DS and the new Nintendo? Okay, I don't remember ever seeing a game that I was like, I see why this needs to be on this one.
I got it for a couple reasons. But
I played Majora's Mask on it, and playing Majora's Mask with the analog nub was awesome.
Yeah.
That was about it, though. I did not feel like the game.
It worked really well with Majora's Mask, as you said. It worked really well with Smash, and it worked really well with something else.
And you remember there were very few games. And this is the
problem.
No,
there was only like.
This is also the problem with mid-gen refreshes, right? Is that.
Was the actual
there were games that were
console.
only playable on the new Nintendo 3DS, which was ridiculous.
There was only like 6 or 7, wasn't there?
Yeah, one of them was Xenoblade Chronicles.
No.
Yeah,
Xenoblade,
not Chronicles. You're right. Sorry, Xenoblade.
Oh no, you are right. Xenoblade Chronicles 3D.
Okay. Thank you. Anyway, so Xenoblade Chronicles 3D was a new Nintendo 3DS exclusive. You couldn't play it on anything else. But the game didn't sell very well. The Nintendo didn't.
Fire Emblem Warriors was another one.
Was it exclusive?
Yeah, Fire Emblem Warriors was. The Hyrule Warriors counterpart. Actually, apparently, Hyrule and Fire Emblem Warriors were really, really good on the Switch.
That's wild. Anyway, that's what I mean. You look at all these weird factors that could have attributed to it. It is interesting that neither the Xbox 360 or the PS3 did, even though the 360 did not have a slow start.
Nintendo's so weird. They get away with so much stuff that other companies wouldn't, but they're Nintendo, so they do it.
Yeah, I guess, and I lost the plot a little bit there, but what I was getting at is that there's no numbers that I've seen before from Nintendo that would indicate that this is a reasonable thing to see from them. Now, of course, odd things happen all the time, and there is the chance that this is the exception and the Switch does hit 100 million. But it's crazy to think that of all the home consoles, which we've been told were going to die, and then we obviously see that they haven't.
I'm sick of that. I'm so sick of people saying.
Well, and now we're hearing it again, right? Because traditional home consoles. Well, but now traditional home consoles are going to die in favor of a streaming service as tech gets to a point where it's not worth it to make a set-top box, and instead you buy a streaming box that streams the game. That's what. Do you remember this? There was
Xbox is doing something similar to that, where they
reportedly. There'll be a traditional console alongside a streaming box,
which isn't a bad idea, to be honest.
Well, and if you think about it, I mean, I don't think it's too far to think that may eventually happen to PlayStation. There's less of a reason for PlayStation to do it. The reason it makes sense for Xbox is that they have made themselves a ecosystem across multiple platforms.
Yeah.
Sony hasn't done that because they don't have the benefit of owning their own. Yeah, but they don't have the benefit of owning their own operating system on PC that's ubiquitous like Windows.
I wish they did.
Cool. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it depends because, right, you have the XMB, which was pure love, and then you have the bubble system from the Vita. So maybe they can't make. But then again, Windows 8.
They're like Nintendo. They make some dumb design decisions.
Yeah.
But so what's up with this with these digital sales we've been seeing lately?
Yeah. Let's transfer over to that. So Now, this is more interesting because we see numbers all the time. So one thing that you pointed out from this was that, okay, 131 million for God of War. And that was almost half of the game sales were digital. And then we looked, and actually throughout the entire first quarter, which is from April to June, beginning of April, end of June, 46, if I recall right, 46% of all game sales on PlayStation 4 at least were digital. And that's crazy, right? Because we talk about it all the time. I guess one of the reasons I wanted to include this is that for months in a row, we were talking about how Fortnite was making just a ridiculous amount of money off of microtransactions, right? Well, it's kind of nice to go, okay, well, look, not only that, but we're seeing a single-player-based game make massive amounts of money, which 131 million is a massive chunk. I mean, we know that God of War sold 5 million units, I think, in its first month. 3 to 5. I think it was 5 by the end of the month. So when you look at it that way, it's interesting to see this. But it's still, to me, what I think is interesting is that we've always heard these people for almost like really 5 to 7 years now telling us that it's eventually going to go all digital. And that they were like, but the numbers are picking up. And yeah, they are picking up. But the fact that they've still not broken over the halfway mark is actually pretty telling to me. I think it goes to show that a lot of people still want to own a game physically.
Well, I think that decision is not going to be up to us. I think that decision, when I say that the future will be digital, it'll be made for us, where we will have no choice.
Well, to an extent, I think I
think you're going to see a lot of these more indie games where...
Well, the economy does it, right? And it's more than just... I'm not even going to say the economy, right? I'm going to say it's the economy versus the ability to get access to decent internet. Now, maybe, and it depends, right? A lot of people, and the reason I say this specifically is a lot of people are acting like we were already going to be in the digital future by now.
Well, I think
but
also,
we're not, and we're not even over the halfway mark. And that's telling to me because it shows that there's enough people who wanted to buy God of War who either wanted it physically or could not get it digitally. Those are the only two reasons. It would
Wait, what?
The fact that only 46% of these games are being sold digitally means that either that's more than half the people have it physically. That's telling that it's either that more people want to own the physical game over digital and I guess is what I'd say
that threw me off. You said and. I'm like, wait.
I mean, whatever. So, but my point being is that it's either that, and it can also be a mixture of that on top of people who do not have access to good enough internet to buy the games digitally.
Right.
And now that happens, right? Because you think about it this way, and for Blaze, perfect recent example. Blaze was wanting to hang out one weekend, and I can't remember, he had something going on, and he was like, well, what are you playing this weekend? If nothing else, we'll play together. And I was like, well, I was playing Warframe. And he goes, oh, okay, I'll try and download it. Well, Blaze has a Windstream. Okay. And a lot of people in town can't get cable one. All they can get is Windstream. This is in our town, which is a big town. And it was going to take Blaze to download this game, which I think was like 20-something gigs, maybe 30-something gigs. It may even be 50.
Warframe's like 60 gigs.
Even so, let's say it's 60. God of War was like 40-something gigs, if I remember right. If we think about that, so many of these games are that big, it was going to take like a day and a half for Blaze to download that game when he could just go to GameStop. If it was now Warframe's a weird example, but let's just say it was God of War. He could have went and got, and he did, to be fair. He could have went and got God of War, popped it into his PlayStation and been playing in 30 minutes or an hour, whereas for him to play it digitally. And that's what I mean why I get what you're saying eventually.
Well, you see, the argument works both ways because you said almost half said they got it physically. Well, almost half got it digitally.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I think it's telling that we're not over the halfway mark
and I
yet.
think that a lot
when originally people were acting like this was going, by now we would have already been into all digital.
A lot of people also don't understand that stuff
majority
like internet and stuff like that is going to become more widely accessible. You're not going to be getting the slower speeds that we're getting now. And I guarantee you in the next 5 years there won't be physical games anymore. Just because in 5 years, imagine internet 5 years ago at the rate we are going, imagine 5 years in the future.
Well, the internet's not had any massive improvements.
What do you mean?
I'm telling you, it's just like it's like cell phones. The last few years of cell phones have been very drastically dropped because there's not been a technological advantage. The thing about
fiber,
I don't know, but fiber's been around for more
cable
than,
did not have cable one did not have fiber.
But that's only for us. That's not.
Well, I'm just talking about that's just an example, though.
Well, sure, but that's only us. But fiber's been around for more than a decade. That's what I mean. Is when you start thinking about these things, and the reason I brought up cell phones is there's always some technological hurdle that gets into it.
It's not even a technological.
For cell phones, it's batteries. The reason you haven't seen any bigger
that's not a technological hurdle, though. That's a personal hurdle because you don't want thick phones.
Well, no, I mean it's technological because batteries. They haven't found a way to get a battery that just generally holds
right,
more
but
and can hold the charge.
But they easily
I
could.
mean, I get what you're saying too, but it's still a technological hurdle in the long run. Battery technology has not advanced in the last 10 years.
It's just like they could do 4K,
like it was before
but
that.
But they could do 4K phone screens and stuff like that
if they had a battery to power it.
Right, and if they just made the phones bigger, thicker, and pricier.
But it would be way bigger than that.
But they still could do that technology.
Still, I guess. But on the internet, definitely in America, it's due to a poor infrastructure. So when you think about that, and how does that get remedied? And America's a very big gaming thing. And a lot of people game who don't have access to internet.
I think that's going to just only increase it though. When they realize how much of the population in these coming years actually do rely on this kind of thing.
It's going to increase internet improvement.
It's going to increase the infrastructure in the United
and I
States
guess the thing we go back to is, you remember how we said Sony started off the PlayStation Network on a bad infrastructure, right? We're talking about the same problem of eventually the problem is going to have to be that our infrastructure has to be completely changed, which means actually that we're going to have to kind of, in a way, drop all internet and come back up from the ground up.
Well, and see, I don't think that's
now not in all areas.
Because
not in all areas. I think that we would be fine, but there are going to be places that have this happen for it to come down, and it's very costly for them to go through and dig. Like, okay, fiber. When you're if they're going to expand out these new areas, definitely fiber. It's very expensive to do this. They have to see a reason to do it, and that's why fiber is not out in certain places. Like a little bit past where I used to live, you can't get it. A lot of places are like that. They still have people who buy games, and that's why I say it's a balance. The only reason I say that we should be careful is that 5 years ago, people were saying 5 years from now we'll be in a digital-only future, and we're not even over the halfway mark. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but you see games that have sold, what is it? What is 131? Half of that is $65 million in digital sales.
No, that was digital revenue by itself. So
oh, yeah,
it made 131
right.
million in digital.
That's ridiculous.
Now, that's a $60 game that sold 5 million. That's not that surprising. You know what I mean?
Right, but still.
But it goes to show the fact that the overall percentage is not over the halfway mark is it's not surprising.
It's not over the halfway mark, but it's almost there.
It's easing up. But but if you listen to the way people talk before, like I say, when people were saying 5 years ago that 5 years from now we'll be all digital, obviously that's not even true, and we're not even over the halfway mark. It goes to show that sometimes this stuff happens at a slower rate than you think. You know what I mean?
Let's see how many. No, I'm curious how much God of War 3 sold digitally.
God of War 3? Oh, good question. I don't even know if it was a digital day one because it came out in 2010.
It doesn't look like anybody knows either because I'm not.
Well, that was before day one digital and digital sales were a thing. I don't think that you can really do that. Most people who would have bought the game would have bought it physically because it wasn't even available digitally for a long time.
I'm trying to think of something that's
comparable.
Thing
I get what you're trying to say is comparable. But I mean, that's why they showed the whole stat. If you go the whole stat, which is all digital sales, or 46% all sales, 46% of them were accounted for digitally. So when you think about that, that's what I'm saying. For that whole number across all games to not pass the halfway mark when 5 years ago people were saying that by this time we'd be all digital is telling that it doesn't happen as quickly as people want to think it does.
I'll give it 10 years then.
I mean, maybe.
Because
it depends on what things happen. Because things that we haven't even talked about. What happens if we just get really crazy good? Somebody shoots up a satellite. They can do satellite internet that's better than anything else we can have. Not saying it's going to happen. I don't understand. But there are things that could happen. But if we're going off, I just think that sometimes people throw numbers on these, and it's telling to me that yes, they're making a lot of money digitally. That's interesting, and it's cool to see. I mean, there's a lot of upsides there for the publisher because the publisher makes more money. There's less cost. Yeah. There's no in between man.
No, it's better for it's better for everybody around, everybody involved except Best Buy. I mean, and GameStop and all those other companies.
Well, in a way, it is. It's not better for you. It's better for you as a day one customer. If you weren't a day one customer, it's actually better for you as a 2 months or 3 months in customer to go to GameStop and get it for $20 off when the store still has it for $60.
I've never seen it $20 off for $60. Never.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I have, and not
ever,
long.
Never.
Actually,
ever.
Perfect example.
If you go to GameStop like 2 weeks after a game comes out, I guarantee you God of War.
No, 2 months is what I said.
Oh, I think it's 2 weeks.
No, 2 months.
I was like, I guarantee you, God of War right now is still $54.99.
God of War probably. And I'm not talking about used. I'm talking about new.
That's why I said $54.99 used.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about new because used goes weird. So when you go to a new game, I'm sure that right now God of War is still $60 because God of War is not slowing down sales wise. It wouldn't matter to them. But one of the benefits of physical, and it always has been this way, when a game's been out for a while and they just have excess stock, they start to do weird things. But the one thing I hate about Microsoft is really bad about this. They don't ever lower their digital stuff. So even though Forza Horizon 3 is like a 2.5-year-old game
It's
now,
like $40 still.
it's still $60
No, it was $40 on sale like last week.
on sale. I'm talking about its base price.
Oh.
That if I went,
Well, that's the nature of digital, right? Is because all these games are going to
that's what
stay
I mean,
60
and
then just go
that's
deep
an upside for the
sales.
publisher because they don't have to lose money there. But you said
What's the upside for you too? Because then things
but
like
it's
this.
not an upside for me because I can go to GameStop and get it for $20.
But I'm talking about when it becomes a thing in the future, in which when instead of having these little rinky-dinky summer sales that have 5 good games across the entire summer on sale, you're going to have stuff like Steam summer sales that have hundreds of games that you may want to pick up for way lesser than what anything we're getting now.
Well, maybe so, but even then,
Because everything at that point is digital.
even Steam's not as that competitive. It's always that you get good sales on older games. Trust, I mean, I've done a lot of Steam sales. When I buy games, I never even end up playing.
Right, but I'm just saying that like you don't see 75% off discounts on the PlayStation Store that often.
I mean, I mean, the summer sale they actually recently did was pretty good. With
it was
about
okay.
that. But I mean, I get where you're going from, but I'm also saying that
that
was only a counter to your thing where you're saying that digital is better for everyone involved. It's better almost always for the publisher, but it's not always better for the end user.
GameStop's going to
could change though.
GameStop's not going to be along for much longer though.
I mean, we can pretty much. And again, something else people have been saying forever. They've found ways to diversify themselves.
You really see the evidence in the pudding right now.
Yeah.
Because they bought up Cricket, which is one of the worst mobile phone
and did really badly on
carriers.
But
when they still do it, and of course,
but they did buy, just to throw it out there.
What is it called?
They bought ThinkGeek.
Yeah, ThinkGeek.
But ThinkGeek has made them tons of money. That's the only reason they've even been able to stay around as long as they have.
Right, but then you see half their stores becoming shells of a ThinkGeek store instead of a game store.
And I understand that, but it is a way for them to
it's
diversify and stay alive
as a shell of a GameStop.
And what's weird is that I don't think that their publishing arm did very good for them.
No, of course it didn't.
Because I haven't even heard of a new game from them. So I mean, I get what you're saying.
What was the last game? The little C game they had?
I think so. Oh no, Deformers was their last game.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Deformers because everybody got it for free.
Bad on them. That might have been what really put the nail in that coffin, though. To be fair,
well, yeah. But I just and I think of it this way, like as somebody who and you do it too, plays PC games a lot. PC gamers have been fine now with everything digital for the past 4 or 5 years.
Sure, but then again, I would argue that PCs by nature are almost. If you own a PC anyway, regardless of gaming, you probably have internet. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, but then with the way the future is going towards with these consoles and like Spyro needing a day one update patch in order to play a game, it's a trend we could very well see soon.
Sure, and I guess I'll say this too at the same time. Part of the reason we haven't even brought up, but part of the reason that got controversy is because of the fact that so many people want to buy it physically, and a lot of people are like, I don't have the internet to do this.
I still don't understand how you and I'm not.
And that's not
something you can't blame somebody for that, but like realistically, you have to blame somebody for that. Like you have to blame if you're that person with that internet. You can go to your congressman and be like, hey, this is 2018. If I'm in a place that does not have internet, there's something wrong here. There's something fundamentally wrong in this area of where I live.
I mean, that's to be fair. As far as America goes, it's capitalism. There has to be a market that they see worth it, and that's why you see bad internet like HughesNet and all these satellite old satellite style internet. That's they pretty much have a stranglehold on a lot of these outer places because of the fact that there's not a big enough, consistent enough market for a company to come in and be like, it's worth us putting in millions of dollars worth of fiber.
We need a monopoly. Like you realistically do when you think about it. Google comes knocking at your door like, hey, we're installing fiber in this town. $55 a month. You're gonna get a terabyte worth of data limit. You're never going to hit that.
Okay, but then what happens in monopolies? Everybody has that, and you have no option. If they start being stupid with what they're doing, you have no other option.
Kind of like Cable One does in this town.
Yeah, exactly. And Cable One's not even a monopoly as much as they're just the only smart option that you can get here because everything else is so far below it. And that's what I mean.
Did I tell you about
Internet
the Windstream
across
guy?
The world's like that. It's a problem.
Did I tell you about the Windstream guy that came out door that day?
No.
Like the day Octopath came out, I was sitting on my couch playing it with Annie, and I had a knock at my door, and I got up and I answered my front door. And there's a guy standing there, and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "I was wanting to see, do you guys have internet?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, here's my card." He's like, "I'm with Windstream." He's like, "We just completely restructured our entire program." And he's like, wanted you guys to know that if you join Windstream, keep me in mind if you ever decide to upgrade your service." And I was like, "Oh, well, I kind of already pay for probably the highest consumer service available in this town." And he's like, "Well, who do you have?" I said, "Cable One." And he was like, "Well, what do you have?" And I was like, like 250 megabytes down, and then like 10 or 100 megabytes up, or 10 megabytes up. Is it 10? Okay, that's what I thought.
Which is actually pitiful.
Yeah.
But the down is what really matters, and then like for most people.
Yeah, so. And then the 700 gigabyte limit. And he's like, I can't come close to that. He said, you guys must be gamers. And I said, yeah. I was like, we game a lot. And he's like, y'all stream TV a lot too? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, we offer 50 down and 5 up.
50 down is good for them. And I wonder if it's in my area. The highest I had in my area was 20.
No, dude, when I lived at the Links, I told you this before. When I lived at the Links and we had Windstream, I could play Grand Theft Auto with friends. I hop into a party, I lag out. It doesn't make sense.
And see, that's what I mean. You talk about Texarkana. Texarkana is a big city, man. Across the we are, for those who don't know, Texarkana is a twin city. It's in Texas and Arkansas. If you look at both of our sides together, which we are considered a single population generally, because Cable One services both sides, you're talking about a population of over 100,000 people.
Yeah,
that's not small by any standard. No. For us to still only have one decent internet provider, that's already the nature of
well, Google
provider anyway.
Google did say that we're on their map for
I can't remember what that thing was called.
What?
Yeah, the Google thing they're running
Fiber.
Through. Google Fiber. That's right.
Yeah.
It's just literally called Google Fiber.
Yeah,
very simple.
It's just Google Fiber. I don't think we have real fiber. Like, we have fiber lines. Yeah, I don't think we get fiber speeds. The real fiber speeds.
Oh, we do now. I don't know if you know, but
no, I mean real fiber speeds. Like, I'm pretty sure on
you have to pay more for it, but Cable One, because there was
that when they re-updated everything recently?
Because there was a
big. Isn't it like a terabyte down or something abnormal?
It's 1 gigabyte per second
down. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. I said a terabyte.
That'd be insanity.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's supposed to be 1 Gbps now.
And see, when you think about it,
I haven't paid for it yet, and it's actually way better.
Do you need
up.
anything though?
Huh?
I mean, up. Yeah, for us, we need up.
We would need up. I've thought about getting it, but it'd be like it's 116 right now for me. It'd go up, which is high.
We would need up if we expanded stuff that wasn't 1080p, because right now,
well, we'd need it if we uploaded more.
4 hours, like maybe for an episode.
Not even 4 hours. 2 hours.
Okay.
2.5.
It took me for Saw Plays. It took me anywhere from like 40 minutes to about an hour and a half.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I'm getting is that those are the problems with the internet. And I do think that while it's great to see the game selling so well digitally, it is a story of the fact that we're still under. And I mean, I know that at this point I'm talking in circles there, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
The fact that it's still not broken half, I think, is very telling of the way the internet goes. And at that point, it wouldn't be only in America. That'd be probably in Europe too. And that goes to show that maybe there's more internet problems in even Europe than we're thinking than here. I mean, of course, we're stationed in the U.S., so we think about the U.S. as our lived experience of knowing what internet's like around our area, but it can vastly differ throughout the U.S. I'm sure it can vastly differ throughout UK. So.
Yeah, we got peeps from Romania and all kinds of places. Y'all let us know too.
Yeah,
what everything was, and this will be fun to revisit in like 2 years.
Yeah,
as a topic.
Yeah, actually, I will gladly tell you if I was wrong on the timeline. If it ends up being within the next 5 years that we're all digital, then good for you, man. If the PlayStation 5 ends up coming out all digital, which I don't believe it will, then I will
cry into your game cases that you have and will never have new ones of.
Anyway, yeah, let us know what your thoughts are if you like digital gaming, if you don't, if you have good internet, if you don't. What you think about the PlayStation 4 potentially hitting 100 million, and if you think the Switch will hit it. Because I do think that's such a weird thing. A lot of people are saying that. I just feel like there's less evidence that it will.
I think we'll see 20 million in a year, though.
Oh, no, don't be wrong. I think that it gets up to 3DS numbers, which is still for a home, because they consider it a home console.
We got so much coming out, though. Yeah. We got 2 Pokemon series.
So for them to consider the Switch a home console, and the fact that it'll get to 80 million units, that'll be the first time they've done that since like the 64. Or since not even the dude.
No, 64 did like 60.
Yeah, since even the NES only sold 61.91.
That was a different time, in a different
literally,
era.
Even if it happened, it would be their best-selling console besides the Wii, which was a freak of nature.
Yeah, the Wii is. I kind of want a Wii Mini.
Do it, Saul.
Because you can do things to that stuff. That's in a very gray area of the law.
You can also do it on the Wii U, though. Didn't know if you knew that or not.
Wii U is way too expensive. You used to be able to get a Wii Mini for $40 new off the shelf at Target.
I did not know that. That's crazy. Anyway, this has been Triangle Squared.
Your Nintendo podcast.
There's been a lot of other console talk on this one, but that's just nature of what we're talking about. So we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.